How's it going, guys and gals? Elder coming back at you. We're picking back up where we left off. We ran on to the fact that Shores currently is running Rolling Wealth. So we're trying to collect as much currency as possible. I failed my my blight due to a crash, but it's fine. I'm trying to actually get another Shores map because I don't have a whole ton of them. And since it's not a naturally occurring level 1, you can't horizon it or anything like that. So just trying to farm up what I can. If we don't get one, then fine. We can try to get one by running a different map. Let's do purple, purple, purple. See what we get at the end for the blue and the yellow. This is actually where I dropped my last map when I was farming this area. I wanted to kind of discuss what the latest posts on PoE 2 are, and we will still do that after the next 30 minutes, so that way we can at least try to gather up as much currency as possible for today to see if we can work on our gear and whatnot. Now, obviously, we can't trade because we're an SSF, so primarily our gear is going to be made by us and or found, but we will get to that. Now I'm just trying to survive. All right. I think we said purple, right? Or we could just do blue. Yeah, let's do the blue. Blue's going to give us more juice, and then we can do the yellow after. All the juice we can, you know. Once we get this cleared up, actually I'll jump into Discord right now. How's it going, you all?
Yo!
Sorry, I jumped in when I started the stream, so I needed to come in, muted it, and deafened. I'm doing pretty good.
Shit out of me.
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I fucking found my wallet today, dude.
Fuck, thank God.
Yeah, man. It was stuck inside the couch, but like inside the recliner part of it. So
yeah.
So when we turned that shit totally upside down, we found it.
That's good, man. I'm glad. Like that shit's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse when it's when you're outside and you know you just had it.
Yeah, I've actually lost mine, so I felt for you. But anybody who is running maps that can run like red maps, T13 Shores is rolling currency right now for at least the next like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make some chaos and whatnot.
Funny enough, I think the best way to make chaos is to not actually do those and just do actual league mechanics, because everyone's doing that for just raw currency.
Well, I'm not saying to buy it or anything like that. I'm just saying like if you have a whole bunch.
Maps.
Yeah.
No, I know, but just like in general, I almost feel like it's just better to.
Well, I'm still running my mechanics. I mean, I'm doing this strat is primarily expedition and harvest. And I use that one that gave me like extra points or whatever. I always forget what it's called. What's it? One that doesn't let you use stuff and you can't get air bubs. Unwavering vision.
Yeah.
I'm using that right now so that way I can get all the points I need for like Kirik missions and harvest and expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. I'm so glad you found it.
Yeah, dude, it was such a relief.
I know how terrifying that is. Yeah, you're making your regular character. I see.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's playing is exploding. What up?
Then I got him set up with a 5 link.
Oh yeah.
Overworks,
Easy
man.
enough, only 200C.
Well, in
For-
Act 2, I had 100C drop.
I'm talking about for that roll on it.
Oh. Yeah, I noticed that was a pretty good roll.
I was like, all right, I'll pay 200C for that.
So what we're gonna try and do is go into a lower tier map and see if we can get tier 12 shores while we still have time. If we can run at least 1 or 2 more, that'd be great, so we can get some currency. Now, the only reason we're attempting that is because we have favorite slots and whatnot, and so we're running at tier 11 with 100% chance to get higher tier maps. So should potentially the potential for getting a tier 12 is high. Now, whether it's going to be the correct tier 12, that's a full difference. Thank you so much for the sub, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Much appreciated. And let me use my my new button that I had made.
Ooh.
Oh man, you're not it says you're not viewing right now. Oh, maybe because you just
What?
yeah, it doesn't have you on there. Looking at the viewers, it just has vertexes and then me and
The fuck?
stream elements. Yeah, I don't know. It's
I see
weird.
how it is, Twitch. Sons of bitches.
Twitch being very rude to you.
Mm,
That's weird.
maybe I have to actually like say something.
Say something, maybe. See if it'll. Uh, Still hasn't updated. That's so weird.
Damn. I'm a ghost.
Nope. Keep these the ghost. Damn it. That's because like I have a button for shout out. Oh, there it is. Hold on. I think he just popped up. There you are. Yay.
Ah. Nice.
I actually have it on my thing, so now I can just like click a button and shout people out.
Ah.
Yeah, I guess it didn't recognize the sub as anything for some reason. That's weird.
Yeah.
You know how they are with lurks and whatnot. They always do that, those jerks. I was actually surprised. Nobody was chatting in the morning, but for some reason I had like 5 or 6 viewers. I was like, okay. Nobody was saying nothing, but
Weird.
it was ass early in the morning too. It was like 6 a.m. Well, usually when the bots pass through, they'll try and get me to, buy something or something, but
Yeah. Not even them's.
yeah.
Yeesh.
Okay. Can't hear anything. Let me see. Oh yeah, the game crashed. I forgot. Let me get it back up. Sorry, I'd had it working and I'd had it working and my game crashed and then I have to reset it again. I don't know why it has me do that every time. Should be coming through clear now. How you doing today, DJ?
How deep are your pockets?
Oh, maybe I don't want to know anything about it.
What
You know,
happened?
like they have the $100 starter packs or starter boxes, but
Okay.
it's one of those. If you get hooked, you're hooked.
Ah, Warhammer.
Ah, gotcha. All right, sorry about that. Like I said, the game decided to crash earlier, so it kind of messed up.
Or you could just be a broke boy trying to play those games, like how I usually try and brute force things.
Ooh.
Gotcha. Yeah, I keep streaming just a little too late for you, but I'm working on it. I started a little earlier today. I'm gonna try and get on a little earlier tomorrow as well, and try and work my way backwards. You know, get the streams going a little earlier so that way I can have some more fun with it.
He's playing the video game.
But as always, I appreciate you
there's
coming
both.
by.
Oh.
And my one of my viewers on YouTube, he's been coming by like every day. Even though he's like going to bed, he comes by for a little bit.
Nice.
And but he's pointed it out for me more than once, and I've noticed it myself, and I always forget. For some reason, when I start the game up, I can hear the audio, like I can hear the music and everything, but it's not coming through the stream. So what I literally have to do is open up the sound settings and just adjust the sound level, and it works.
Oh, weird.
I'm
Is that
telling you,
regular OBS?
regular OBS.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's super annoying, especially like right now. Like I had it working, and then I crashed, and then I had to do it again. You know what I mean? Because I launched the game again. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can tell me. How would I? Because I know how to do the one where it's not on the VOD, but is there a way to like split the audio to a point of the music's on the Twitch stream only and not on the stream on YouTube, so that way they don't hit me with stuff and stop my stream? I know Ziz does it, but I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. So you still want to play it on, like, you don't want music playing at all on YouTube?
On YouTube, no. Yeah, it's just gonna be the game audio, and
I have no idea.
I have to maybe I'll ask Ziz then, because he has it working that way. Like I've gone to his stream on YouTube and his stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
And the one on Twitch, music on the one on YouTube, no music.
Interesting.
And that way I can just do that, and then I'll start doing the same thing everybody else is doing, playing the music they like listening to.
Yeah.
Oh man. Trying to.
Have you tried YouTubing it yet?
I have not. I have not had time. I've been streaming primarily, and then I go to bed.
My assumption on how it's done, this might be entirely wrong, but this is just me, throwing ball out, I guess, is that it works by having it set to a different channel. So like you have Spotify playing on one channel,
Right.
but not the other.
Right.
And
Right.
you
Right.
have YouTube only take one of the channels and Twitch the other one.
Well, see, I don't know if OBS has a setting like that. That's the thing.
It does.
I know it has the channels, but to a specific stream.
No. I have to assume so.
Because like it's easy to do that for the VOD. Like the VOD won't have anything. I know how to do that setting, but yeah. But you know, it's probably something, and you know, something very. It's probably something easier than I'm thinking. I'm just overthinking it more than likely. But I appreciate it again, DJ. Thank you for coming by. I know you probably already bounced, but you know, it's always appreciated. You just coming and chilling.
What happens when you're having
Mm,
So you're looking to get into Warhammer or what, Kiki?
No, Darwin had brought it up, but I've always like, I think when I first heard about it from Henry, what's his name, the actor?
Cavill?
Henry something? Henry Cavill.
E8.
I was like, what's this about? But I never looked into it, so
Ah,
want to see. But Darwin was playing the game, and video game. And I didn't know there was a video game.
oh, okay.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah. There's a ton of them,
Warhammer
actually.
video games.
Holy crap!
Yeah, Warhammer's always looked cool. I never got into it personally, but yeah.
40k or the normal Warhammer? Two very different things. Technically.
I think the one that I've mainly paid attention to is 40k.
Shit, that's the only one that I know about. I didn't know there was a regular one.
Normal Warhammer is more of a fantasy setting,
Interesting.
while 40k is more sci-fi.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
space orcs and death.
Gotcha.
Or fungi. But they are, like, weird as it is, space orcs is just a type of fungus.
Just like humans.
Yeah.
But the color red gives power.
Hmm.
Well,
Oh, no joke.
Yeah, no, that's legit.
That's a part of the.
Their entire
That's
lore is
hilarious.
that anything that they think actually works
It
is
works.
true. Like they
That's
are
awesome.
the only thing that makes them relevantly, like, you know, not like dominate the world or like the multiverses and everything, is simply the fact that they're all dumb as a doornail.
Oh, Lake
Their
Raven
guns
battle.
are literal piles of scrap. So is their spaceships. They don't physically function at all. It's just because they say it works, it does.
That's amazing.
Yeah, space orcs are like the stuff behind them. Sometimes I'll get on TikTok and they have like people talking about the books and talking about the lore and talking about this, that, and the other, and just it's in some of it's just insane sounding, man.
I'll have to change up my algorithm right now. It's just nothing but cats and Asian women.
I get some of that too, to be fair.
Bro, I was talking about it earlier. The modern day pimps that I see on TikTok, it's fucking hilarious, dude.
What?
Yeah, bro. It's literally either male or female host. They'll be behind the camera shouting. They'll be like, "Yeah, you like this girl? You could have this girl. Give her some tips and she'll dance for you." And it's fucking hilarious.
Huh. That's not on my TikTok, so I have no idea.
Modern day pimps using technology.
No, I think the only one where me and you are like overlap. I think the only one that where me and you are overlapping is that one girl that gets up and she cooks and she yells at the camera.
Oh yeah, I see like some of my comments.
Yeah.
Bro, there was one video, I don't know if you saw, she cut her finger.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I've seen where she cut her finger, and then I've also seen where I think a shrimp or something attacked her.
What the fuck? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, bro.
Lol.
But-
Imagine getting attacked by a shrimp.
You'd be surprised. I've seen it happen in a restaurant.
What
Fucking
the
vicious.
fuck? I gotta look that up.
At least it wasn't a pistol shrimp.
Like,
Those things can literally kill you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pistol
But
shrimps are actually really scary.
like people, but no, I was watching a video one. This was a while, like maybe a month ago or something. It was a lady at a restaurant, and they brought a live shrimp, and the shrimp you're supposed to put them in the into the boiling pot and cook them and da da da. Well, she goes to put the shrimp into the boiling pot. That mofo literally just stabbed her in the finger and was stuck on her.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. He was like, I'm not going in that pot, bro.
Sheesh, I didn't know
Burn meat,
shrimp.
burn your finger.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know shrimp
I was
had
thinking
defenses.
more of
Like the
this is
shrimp
for
was
all my homies.
stuck in her finger. The waiter and them, and they had to come and help her.
Holy crap!
And then she was bleeding.
Yeesh.
Be weirder if she wasn't, to be fair.
To be fair, but I mean, you could have went under a couple of layers of skin, not all the way through.
But then it would have been as big of an issue to just take it off.
True. True.
All right, boys.
Take off the finger.
I gotta get ready.
Yeah.
Take off the finger.
You just unscrew the finger.
Sheesh.
Sheesh. All right, boys. Time for me to get ready for work. I might come back later.
All right, buddy.
Have
You have a
fun.
good one.
Later.
All right, guys and gals. We missed our opportunity for some more currency, so let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with PoE2 and their latest posts. So let me do a quick transition. This one. Did I close it? I may have. Oh, man. Oh, wait, no. Right here. I was trying to check out this. This one worked pretty good. Sure. Looks like Castle Ruins is another good one right now. Might try that. Let's see if we get it though. Castle Ruins. Okay. Let's do area contains on. Oh, we probably missed it. It was probably... Yeah, it changed already. Never mind. We'll look for a different one. Anyhow. Let me make sure this is showing what I'm looking at. And let's look at Exile's posts. Okay, so the last one we talked about was right here. I talked to my buddies about this the other day. This shield is really cool. Obviously, we discussed the ramifications of using it. Thank you very much for the raid, Kiki. Much appreciated, my friend. I didn't even know you were streaming, my guy. But welcome in, Raiders. Hope y'all can enjoy and hang out for a while. But right now we're just kind of discussing the latest post from about PoE2. After that, we're gonna get back to some map grinding and go from there. But I was discussing this shield with my buddies from PoE2. We were all talking about the ramifications of being able to have your allies equate their block to your block, and there were some questions about being able to block without a shield, which should work because the majority of skills or builds in general are going to have you holding a weapon of some type. Stabs have block chance, etc. So, you know, more than likely you'd be able to block. Even if you're dual wielding has a chance to block. So, still a pretty good thing. Let's see the next post. Had some information. Maybe we'll check this out. It's featurette. See how long it is. If it's super long, Actually, it's something to read through. Okay, cool. So let's look through it. Path of Exile, long road to exceeding a decade of expectations. Path of Exile has become a mammoth game since its initial release in October 2013. The free-to-play action role-playing... Can you believe it's already been over 10 years? Free-to-play action role-playing game now contains about 30 expansions, each introducing a plethora of tweaks and new mechanics, some of which could keep players busy for months or even years. The vast majority of these features are present in Path of Exile to this day, layer upon layer of content to discover and get lost in. Now developer Grinding Gear Games is betting on a sequel that will coexist with the original. Path of Exile 2 sounds familiar enough. After all, it's still a free-to-play ARPG, but it's an ambitious project nevertheless. Path of Exile 2 will feature a brand new campaign across 6 acts with about 100 environments, 100 bosses, 600 enemies. There are 12 character classes planned, each with 3 additional ascendancy subclasses to specialize into, and there will be 700 equipment-based types, each with unique items to find, including new weapons like crossbows, flails, and spears. At the core, Path of Exile 2's development is a striking challenge. The success of the first Path of Exile was powered by seemingly endless growth in the game's size and complexity over the entire decade. With Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games isn't just competing with other games in the genre, it's competing with the ambition and scope of its own now monumental creation. In Path of Exile 2, the studio has to strike a careful balance, delivering a unique experience that upends some of its predecessors' core principles without upsetting seasoned veterans who might resist or resent those changes. Ahead of Path of Exile 2 Epic Games Store launch, we chatted with Grinding Gear Games about how the team is adding novelty to familiar mechanics, and the importance of balancing player freedom with a smooth onboarding for newcomers. Okay, new chapter, big changes. Path of Exile will continue to exist as its own game as it stands. The ARPG easily rivals or exceeds its genre cohort, big and small, old and modern, but as the years passed and Grinding Gear Games continued to expand the original Path of Exile, the limitations baked into its foundation started to become a roadblock, preventing the team from achieving what they wanted with each new expansion. With Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games got to start fresh without the years of cruft. The team could rethink everything, even something as basic as a camera's point of view. It's quite close to your character in the original, but pulled further back in Path of Exile 2 to make the game more suitable for bigger displays and new to the series local 2-player co-op. The reason why we started the project in the first place was because we wanted to be able to significantly improve the combat Path of Exile, said game director Jonathan Rogers. The original character rigs, the digital skeletons that give characters the ability to be animated, were made over a decade ago. As Rogers explained, the rigs were holding the team back, since once you're rigged something to a character, you can't just go and change the skeleton without also needing to change everything rigged to it. That would involve changing all of the items, redoing all of the animations, and so that's what the team set out to do for the sequel. When you actually go and experiment with different combat and try to make things better, it changes the feel of the game very, very significantly, said Rogers. Edward Tate, principal animator at Grinding Gear Games, detailed how incorporating more movement into characters then rippled outward, expanding possibilities in other parts of the Path of Exile 2. Reworking the movement system meant animations no longer needed to be half a second long, which meant the team could decide how long character skills take to execute, which then allowed for more class creativity and flexibility. Hayden is particularly fond of the resulting close quarters skills, especially the ones related to the monk, which is the class that I plan on playing personally. One of the Path of Exile 2 new classes. The monk was kind of easy for me because I used to do kung fu, Tate said. It's not that I could do any of the stuff that the monk can do, but I already had an idea in my head of how that stuff should look and what's possible with that martial art. The mercenary is another class that encapsulated some of the sequential biggest changes. Creating the mercenary's crossbow animation, for instance, required quite a bit of iteration. At one point, Grinding Gear Games lead designer Rory Rackham proposed rapid fire and thought it'd be interesting if the player could still move while doing so. After some tinkering, players could walk freely while shooting. Path of Exile 2 also includes 8-direction WASD movement, though click with the mouse to move is still available, and dodge roll. They were changes that I thought were weird when they were brought up. Said Tate, the dodge roll, for example, required some clear restrictions from the beginning to make sure it wasn't faster to roll around than simply walk. I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Tate continued, but once we got them in and got them working, it's really added to the game. Path of Exile 2 also reworked the skills gem systems. The original Path of Exile skills gems are items that you need to slot into equipment. This included support gems, which modify or boost the capabilities of skill gem you link to them. In Path of Exile 2, all your skills can be fully adjusted in a different standalone menu. There's much more of reliance on synergies between skills. We can give players a lot of power for just using multiple skills together, avoiding situations where you just fill your character with buffs or passive skills, said Rackham. This solves some long-standing issues using the original skill gem system. For example, you'd sometimes find combinations that did quite a bit of damage to all normal enemies while not being particularly effective against bosses. Now, mixing and matching to achieve different results is much more manageable. There are new designs that you couldn't see in Path of Exile because you wouldn't fully invest your character in a skill that's only useful a fraction of the time. You needed something that worked all the time, said Rackham. But now we have them to fit together and also have the combos that aren't forced. If you manage to apply a debuff, now you have this other skill that's gonna do a lot of damage. Naturally, this led to mechanics that interact with dodge roll, like skills that leave behind an illusion copy for your dodge roll, which then grants you further powers when the illusion gets hit. Another skill triggers a spell whenever you dodge a few times, adding evasiveness into your offense strategy. According to Rackham, work in Path of Exile 2 meant the team could stretch its creative legs a bit more than they could while working on the regular cadence of expansions and seasons for the original. Let's experiment with some crazy mechanics that will add development time potentially forever, but this is the thing that to raise the bar, said Rackham. See how long? It's not too long. New players and quality of life. Learning the ins and outs of Path of Exile often feels like learning a new language. Grinding Gear Games is aware of this and is looking to close the gap, but the plan is to do so subtly, keeping in mind that many of the players who enjoy the first game did so because of its complexity and player freedom, not simplicity. Take respecking, for example. In Path of Exile, you need to find orbs of regret to unspend 1 point in a passive skill tree. This makes a respecking a laborious task, especially if you need to refund more than one node. Orbs of regret drop from enemies at random, and if you're running short, you can either farm for them or trade other items of similar value in a player-led market. In Path of Exile 2, respecking is done by spending gold, a new in-game currency that you won't be able to trade with others. In some ways, respecking is more available, said Rackham, but you could be doing a lot of other things with that gold as well. So you've got to make the choice. Do I change my build, or do I just want to gamble a bunch and maybe get a great item? Loot, or at the least the way it's displayed while laying on the ground, is also being tweaked. As ask any Path of Exile player what you need to know before getting into the game, and there's 99% chance that they'll mention a loot filter. Basically, the filter highlights only rare items such as aforementioned orbs of regret, powerful and uncommon gear pieces. Without a filter, your map quickly swarms with gray and blue item tiers which aren't at all powerful. It's such a barrier for someone who's never played Path of Exile before, said game designer Hershkesh did Hearth. You load up the game, you play, and then you get to a point where there's just so much stuff on your screen you can't play anymore until someone tells you, oh, install a filter and now you can play. With Path of Exile 2, Grinding Games is working to ensure that whatever is on the ground has some value heading off this common scenario. Player freedom. Grinding Games always keeps an eye on the community and what the players approach a game that is often deemed intimidating or even untamable for some first timers. People love to come up with class builds, diverse skill and gear combinations that can be considered the meta during each league. Seasonal updates that occur every 3 or 4 months and are usually centered around a new mechanic or feature. The community has even come up with tools like Path of Building, which lets you input a build to get an exact rundown of everything you'll need to achieve, from the items down to every passive skill node. But these community efforts extend beyond devising strategies to tech Path of Exile. Trading, for example, is mostly dictated by players who set up certain prices for in-game currencies or gear, particularly unique items. Items are valuable because players are able to trade them with other players. This freedom is deliberate. I think that's just really important part of the way that action RPGs feel, said Rogers. Gonna take a sip of water. Usually don't read this much. Out loud, at least. That doesn't mean that the Path of Exile community is flawless. It's been hard to maintain a proper trade economy because you can get problems like rampant inflation. Rogers continued, well, Grinding Games plans to maintain its community-driven approach in Path of Exile 2. They're still trying to address issues while remaining as hands-off as possible. Most games have freely tradable gold and unbound items, and what we found is that doing the exact opposite actually works even better, said Rogers. You have bound gold that you can't trade between each other, but items are unbound. What that means is that you can make it so that the trade user uses gold as the tax for allowing things to move from one place to the other, effectively preventing hyperinflation while still having the ability to have a trade system. Rogers thinks that many game developers have a fear of letting things get out of control. We like to give a lot of freedom. My general feeling is to do cool things and then try to clean up afterwards. Ambitious aspirations from the ground up. The developers we spoke to are all veterans at Grinding Games with careers spanning from 8 to over 13 years. This institutional knowledge has been beneficial to the growth of Path of Exile, with developers who are familiar with the previous ideas and existing mechanics and how they are entwined together. As years pass, it's natural to want to improve one's craft and come up with more ambitious solutions, but over design for the sake of it can be counterproductive in an ARPG that's already known for its complexity. I'm definitely guilty of trying to one-up myself constantly, and by doing so, you sometimes over-design to a point where something has too many parts that aren't actually necessary. Sidharth said, it's a trap that is easily fallen into, and it's important to recognize you're sometimes going too far and how to cut back. With Path of Exile 2 introducing so many new items and systems, the campaign strictly follows this philosophy and not overcomplicating the experience. As with the first game, the story is an introduction of sorts to Path of Exile 2, while the end game is where players can really get into the nitty-gritty of class build and see how much they can push their character. For Rogers, the experience of getting through the campaign for the first time should be similar to playing an action game. Someone who can complete a game like God of War should be able to complete Path of Exile 2, he said. Rogers expects overall completion time to decrease with each new playthrough. If say getting through the campaign for the first time took somebody 60 hours, the next time it should take them 40, then 20, and so on. To him, the key element is that players should be able to take it at face value and not be forced to read any online guides to just get through the game at least once. It's something we're pretty close to achieving at this point. There's still a lot of testing to do, but I think we're getting there, Roger said. While exceeding your own accomplishments can be difficult, the upside of having such an enormous foundation is that it's easy to draw from it. Rogers said that the team is planning on bringing back all of the leagues he likes from the original game throughout Path of Exile 2 Early Access. A lot of the hard iteration is already done in terms of making the mechanic fun, which means that then all you have to do really is like design new rewards, art, effects, and so on. Rogers said, mentioning popular leagues of the past like Breach, plus his favorite Delve and Incursion. All that stuff is honestly easier than having to come up with a thing from scratch, so that's been really nice as a pool to draw from and quickly add more content to Path of Exile 2. Once Path of Exile 2 has its full release, there will be significant percentage of past league content brought back into sequels in good ways to experiment with previous ideas, while also making sure that from the start the sequel is already on a path to match or even exceed the scope of its ambitious predecessor. A familiar but fresh foundation. Sequels invite iteration, but when the predecessor has established community 11 years in making, it's hard to balance familiarity in new environments. Elements such as the art style were important to preserve and expand on without straying away too far from what came before. We're not massive fans of heavily stylized things, Tate said, especially with the kind of content where you got a lot of horror and brutality. I think realism really helps with that. You know, something that grotesque kind of loses its grotesqueness if you then have it doing something cartoony. But those who played Path of Exile for a long time have very different expectations of the sequel from those who are newcomers. That was actually a bit harder than I initially expected, Roger said. We've been doing a lot of closed beta testing, and when we do that, we kind of find segments that the users into two groups: people who have played Path of Exile before and people who haven't. When we first tested Path of Exile 2 in that way, we actually found that people who hadn't played the first game, were liking the game more than people who had played it, which was a concern. The team said about getting those percentages to fairly equal levels. Rogers thinks that part of the reason behind that initial gap was Path of Exile players expected a lot of systems that weren't in-game at the time. New players might open the passive skill tree and take it at face value, but someone familiar with the first game will immediately start reading details about skills and noticing anything that's missing. The team had to strike a fine balance between complex and too complex. We don't want to reduce the depth that we have, because I think that's a real key to Path of Exile's longevity, said Rogers. But there were elements that were complicated, not because they added to depth, but because they happened to be complicated. For those things, we really wanted to make sure that there were no longer barriers. The state of the ARPG genre. As daunting as working on a sequel to an ARPG in an increasingly crowded space might be, Grinding Games believes there's still ways to iterate and improve on genre norms that were first established decades ago with pioneers like Diablo 2. And while the team has been using its own experience with Path of Exile to inform the upcoming sequel, the developers don't develop in a vacuum. Inspiration begets inspiration, and there's no shortage of them in the modern ARPG genre, from Diablo 4 to Last Epoch. There's been a lot of games recently in the genre, for sure. It's definitely heated up a lot, said Rogers, but he thinks that that's a good thing. Rogers mentions that the latest expansion of Path of Exile, titled Settlers of Kalgur, was the biggest one to date, and in terms of player numbers, what we found is that the more other action ARPGs are, the more we benefit. Rogers continued, people will often come and try Path of Exile once they've tried another ARPG first. The thing is with the genre is that you can play for a season and then go try a different one, and that's absolutely fine. The more people that want to do that, the better. To Rackham, the variety is cool to see. It's great that someone else is trying to experiment, trying the experimental stuff so that we can then be like, well, that mechanic actually worked well. We should do a version of it, or see how important certain mechanics were for Last Epoch, say. That's a great thing that we could have done 10 years ago in Path of Exile. What would it look like now if it had carried it on to the new game, onto the game? Sometimes base mechanics like competing ARPG is totally different from grinding your games and vision for Path of Exile 2. Other times people from the team play games and are inspired by what they see. Even games outside the genre informed Path of Exile 2. The crossbow, for instance, turns Path of Exile 2 into a top-down shooter of sorts. Rackham also mentioned that Souls-like games like No Rest for the Wicked serve as inspiration for sequels, new movement capabilities. Playing Path of Exile 2 Summer Game Fest demo, you could tell that grinding your games intends players to take a more methodical approach, with bosses being particularly unnerving until you've learned their patterns. We always had challenging in-game bosses that you needed to learn the mechanics for, Rackham said, but yeah, more complex boss fights are just the standard now, not just for the major act bosses. Ultimately, Rogers says that the feel of the combat and what will make Path of Exile 2 stand out in the genre. The different presentation and certain elements could be risky, he acknowledged, especially since long-time Path of Exile players now know exactly how the existing game works, but it's important to keep people guessing. The lead up to early access. When conducting interviews with Grinding Your Game, it's clear that the team knows expectations are high. The interviewees all express different emotions about getting closer to starting this new chapter that is familiar for some and as it is new to everybody else. For Siddharth, it's comforting to know that after years of developing time, people are about to finally get their hands on the game. There's so many different moving parts that are happening at the same time, and you're trying to make sure that you haven't forgotten any one aspect, right? He said, it's very exciting coming up to it, but I can also be very scary. There was definitely a period where I was concerned that people wouldn't like the changes we were making. Tate said, they sounded so big, and there are fans who don't like that look of what we've done, but I think all in all, the perception's been positive. And playing the game, yeah, to me, it feels so much better. For Rackham, it doesn't feel that the team is reaching the end of the road, but rather reaching the part where people are going to start seeing what the team is doing. As for the early access period, he says new content will likely come to Path of Exile 2 at a rapid pace. While some developers have been jumping between both games depending on the team's needs, Rackham has been full on Path of Exile 2 for a while. There have been times where everyone around me has been on Path of Exile while I'm the one person working on Path of Exile 2, usually just before a big league release, he said. In general, I imagine there's going to be less shifting from one to the other because they're both going to be happening all at once. In terms of what the team is expecting to see from community, even with the quality assurance department dedicated to trying out different skills together and coming up with builds, there are many permutations that they haven't been tested yet. It's gonna be cool to see what people do with it, that's for sure, Rackham said. Rogers sees this period immediately before early access as a last minute rush of concerns, but one that the studio, at least most of it, is used to by now after releasing an expansion every 3 to 4 months for the last decade. I'm sure it will be hard, but Path of Exile had a surprisingly small dev team for a long time since the sequel has been developed, and I definitely believe we can still do that. The moment Path of Exile 2 gets out the door, the team will likely want to relax, according to Rogers, but there's still but there will still be plenty to do, especially as emergencies arise due to large influx of players. We generally have been a studio that's reacted very quickly to problems, so we have to make sure that we're still maintaining that pace. Roger said there will probably be more problems here than were ever seen before, with so many untested interactions between skills, stats, and unique items, everything like that. The rapid pace necessary to catch any of these so-called emergencies is key, as it can make or break the experience for players and create domino effects of sorts. If not handled properly, if a player finds an issue and the team is able to patch it within a few hours, it's likely fine. But if days go by and people start basing their builds around an exploit, it gets tricky. If you break it, then people will just quit, Roger said. You have to really keep your eye on the ball with exploits like that, because the timeline for acceptability of fixing it is literally hours rather than days. We've made it so that we can deploy patches to Path of Exile quickly and easily, especially for stuff that's just stats and so on, without restarting the whole realm usually, but there's always new challenges every time. It's just one of the many unique considerations that a game as ambitious as Path of Exile and now its sequel demand from grinding gear games. We've had many thousands of players through the closed beta now, and so we've found a lot of problems hopefully already. Rogers concluded, but you know, it only takes one person to find something no one else noticed. Whew. Okay, so that was that post. Looks like they posted some more monsters. Okay. Good. Alright. If you had to pick one monster from Oswald's journal to encounter in the Utsul jungle, which would it be? Check out Oswald's notes on some more monsters from Path of Exile 2. Location, so this is the Stone Sentinel. Location, Val, Mechanarium, and Chimera Wetlands. Origins likely constructed by Val. Thaumaturgus. Specifications large, heavy stone construct. These massive constructs guard the Mechanarium, standing in stasis until awoken by an intruder. Powered by an unknown source, although it's rumored that lightning can disrupt their functions, no one has survived after getting close enough to activate them. Keep your distance if you value your life. We got Quadrilla. The depths of the jungle in Utsul region. Origins, a mutation of the primate family. Specifications large, heavy, aggressive, fast. Known to charge through the tree line with little warning, often found alone but can be encountered in small groups. Will defend their territory to the death. Reports of large silverback variants using large objects like tree trunks and ancient man-made structures as a tool or weapon. Recommend using fire as a deterrent. Carver Brute. Location: Carver settlement in Utsul Bog. Origins: appear to be a mutated human tribe. Strong, aggressive, fast. The cannibal tribe fashioned armaments and clothing from the bones of those foolish enough to approach them. Worshippers of flaming effigies, they have been observed thrusting their spears into the fire and setting them ablaze. Unknown dialect, too dangerous to attempt communication. Avoid at all costs. Do not enter their villages. Kind of look like works. Askal Kol Shaman. Location: marshland on the outskirts of Utsul. The Askal tribe appears to be a mutant human adopted to life in marshes. Specification: these magic, poison, aggressive. Specializes in alchemical sorcery, extracting venoms from swampland snakes to enhance Askal armaments travel through the marshes in large groups of tribesfolk known to attack outsiders on sight. Do not approach. If sighted, your best chance is to run. Alright, we got some more information right count. Okay, another item. 35% energy shield, 19 dex, 20 reduced attack and cast speed. Lightning damage from hits also contributes to electrocute buildup. Okay, so that's... So the wording here is going to be key. Not to mention the fact that you can see how it's underlined. So hits is any kind of hit. Contributes obviously means contributes to, adds to. And then electrocute buildup. Electrocute is going to be a new modifier, I assume, or a new stat. We'll have to see how that works. In a few days, we'll develop a patch to support Path of Exile 1 and 2 sharing microtransactions, as well as crossplay between all supported platforms in Path of Exile 2. Find out more about what will change with the expected... Okay. Check out the forum post. Okay. In order to support Path of Exile 1 and 2 sharing microtransactions, as well as crossplay between all supported platforms in Path of Exile 2, we have had to make some changes to our account system. Here are the changes you can expect with the patch in a few days. Discriminators. One of the annoying problems that we previously had was that creating a new account with the name you wanted was very difficult. With so many accounts, new players often had to try 10 or more times to get the name that wasn't taken. Since we are merging all platforms' accounts into one single account system, we knew that we had to deal with the name conflicts anyway, so we have decided to add a discriminator number to the end of each account name. Sub-accounts. And next big change we are making is sub-accounts. There will be many players who have previously created an account on a console platform as well as on a PC. These players can now merge these accounts together so that they can play across both platforms. When merging accounts, both sub-accounts will still exist and have their characters listed separately. Which account you are currently using can be selected with the account selection box at the top of the character selection screen after you log in. Here. Microtransactions. The microtransactions purchased on the account are still associated with the individual sub-account. If you previously had an account on one of the console realms and also an account on PC with purchases on both, then you can ask support to move them into a single sub-account as a one-time action. Characters cannot be transferred between sub-accounts, so you should only do this if you intend to not use the move microtransactions on that sub-account anymore. Unfortunately, any purchases made on a PlayStation platform cannot be used on other platforms, and purchases made on other platforms cannot be used on a PlayStation platform. Note that these purchases can still be on the same sub-account, but the microtransactions will be marked as unavailable when viewing them in your stash. Merging to other platforms. Accounts. Path of Exile accounts have always been able to support logging in from multiple PC-based platforms to the same account, but we are also now allowing you to merge separate accounts that were created on different PC platforms. If you previously unintentionally created multiple accounts on different platforms, you can now merge these accounts together. But note that you can only merge one account created from each platform. For example, you can merge multiple Steam accounts into a single account. Downtime. To ensure that the patch goes smoothly, Path of Exile will be unavailable for an extended period of time. We're expecting this process to take around 4 hours. Sorry for the inconvenience this may cause. Will I be able to play my Path of Exile 1 console character on PC? No. While you can share the same account on Path of Exile 1 on console and PC, the character will not be shared because Path of Exile 1 does not support crossplay. Will I be able to play Path of Exile 2 console characters on PC when the game launches early access? Yes, Path of Exile 2 characters can be played across any platform. After linking my Xbox and PC accounts, can I use microtransactions that were purchased on my Xbox account on my PC account and vice versa? Yes, but by default, the microtransactions on the two accounts will be separated sub-accounts. You can freely choose which sub-account you would like to use on either platform, and the microtransactions originally purchased on that sub account will be available for use on either platform. You can also contact support if you would like to move the microtransactions onto the sub account as a one-time action, but note that we cannot currently move your character from one sub account to the other. So you should only do that if you do not intend to use the move microtransactions on the sub account anymore. What should I do if I link the wrong accounts together? Taking great care while linking your accounts together. If anything goes awry, contact support. They will be able to unmerge the accounts. If one of my secondary accounts gets banned or muted, will that affect my primary or other secondary accounts? Yes. If one of your accounts is muted or banned, it will affect all associated accounts. If my account is permanently banned in Path of Exile 1, will I be able to use it in Path of Exile 2? No, you will have to create a new account. Can I upgrade from a supporter pack purchased on console to a higher tier package on PC? No, supporter packs on PC and console are considered to be different packs, so you can't upgrade between platforms. You can still use all of the microtransactions and points between platforms on platforms for which sharing is allowed. After Path of Exile 2 is launched in early access, will I be able to use the existing Path of Exile 1 account to play it? Yes, you'll be able to use that same Path of Exile 1 account to play Path of Exile 2. You'll need to purchase the key to join early access though. So they're already talking about paying for a key. So I'm assuming that we'll get one as supporters, and then whoever hasn't supported enough will pay the 30 or whatever dollars they're expecting. Logged into my account and I don't see my characters. Why? In some cases we had to merge two accounts together. Both accounts are still accessible. Use the sub account selector at the top of the character selection screen to change which account you are logged into. This account occurred due to various bugs in the past that had led to multiple accounts being created with the same login credentials. If two accounts shared login credentials, then we merged the accounts together into a sub account on the same account. There are 6,124 accounts that were merged in this way. There are also some cases where two accounts share some login credentials and not others. For example, two accounts share a Steam login, but one of the accounts also has a unique email address. In this case, the Steam login will be removed from the account that had both login methods connected, leaving both accounts accessible with different login methods. If you want to merge the accounts together, you can do so yourself here. There are 579 accounts that had login method removal in this way. And honestly, looking at those numbers, that's not very big considering how many people actually play Path of Exile. Alright, well that covers all of the latest information on Path of Exile 2, their posts and everything like that. Let's see if maybe we got anybody posting here. Yeah. Abomination, Spider Forest. Alt. Filter this. Turn off ad blocker, it'll work better. Spider Forest, Scriptorium seems to be a low level 1. And Jungle Valley, but Scriptorium, Spider Force seems to have the highest. So do we have any Spider Force? Try out. One there. Spider Lair. We only got one. That's okay. We will ID it, roll it, and go from there. Now, I've been going with area contains. This says 2 unique bosses, but I don't think that's what we need. We'll go with area contains any totems, that's fine. That should be fine. It's kind of a nasty map, but we'll try it out anyway. Nope. So it drops chaos, but kind of met on that front. 4%. So it could have been a different modifier that would give us the rolling chaos, or the rolling rolling wealth, as most people are calling it. See what everybody's doing in Discord. I'm back. What's going on in here?
Not much.
Much. Sounds terrible. I was going over all of the latest updates about Path of Exile 2 on the stream. Yeah, showed off a new item, which has a different modifier, something that I hadn't seen, or at least doesn't exist as far as I know in PoE 1, which is electrocution. Unless they're counting that as shock. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if it could be shock, but it doesn't sound like it's the same thing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Sounds almost like a stun, electric stun.
Maybe. Yeah, because the item
At least
itself.
that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, because the item itself, what it says is lightning damage from hits also contributes to electrocute buildup. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like shock is still in the game, so it's still in that normal thing. So it's not that electrocuted is the shock replacement, it's something else then.
I think you were right about the stun thing, because remember the whole stun gauge is going to be similar to what's in D4.
No, because I've never played D4, so I don't know what the stun gauge is exactly.
Well, it's anytime he calls a stunning type hit for like bosses and stuff, it builds up, and once it builds up all the way to max, the enemy becomes stunned. In this case, I guess the enemy would be electrocuted at that point.
It'd be a lightning only thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for that sort of thing, and then there's probably different variants based on the element or whatever the case might be.
Probably.
There'll have to be like something physically that does a stun, etc., etc., etc. I'm surprised you haven't played D4 since you could play it for free.
Yeah. By the way, do you like my quiver that I've been holding on, and now I'm in Act 9?
Nice. Classic king.
Hey, upgrades are only required if you're not at max res or something.
You need damage.
Nah. Like Toxic Rain, I don't need damage.
I haven't played TR in forever. That was a good build though, for sure.
Our dirty little deal is over, exile.
The ancestors forgive. Ancestors, I will see you again.
I really do hate the bastard. Haku plays.
How noble of you. I must confess, I believed you to be bluffing. I see now how little regard.
Thanks to your...
I didn't even know Kiki was streaming today. Then he raided me. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the notification happened.
Not on my computer or anything most of the time, and I don't really get on my phone since I'm not working.
Fair enough.
Yeah, literally avoid my phone for the most part, unless I'm trying to make money doing something or taking calls.
The little general needs aid.
More duels.
Ah.
I don't know what God's plan is, Exile, but I know that I prefer not to